What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT network. My name is Mundungus Greavy. Alongside my co-host, as always, Cameron Parker, Glenn Hauser, who finally decided to show up, and Gage Madrid. How we doing, gentlemen?
We are feeling very super. I should say that. Feeling very super.
Very Super Bowlish.
I like it. Super Bowlish.
I like it. Before we get into anything,
I like that.
Yeah, I love that. Before we get into anything, make sure you head over to the MHRT network. Check out all the shows that we have on the network. We have shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the neighborhood on game days. We also have Gage Madrid, the host of Broncos Syndicate. Make sure you head on over to that YouTube channel as well. Hit subscribe, like, thumbs up. And we have Cameron Parker, the host of Mainly Broncos, on Wednesday night on the MHRT network. So make sure you go and check that out as well. And then there's Glenn, who just does this, and that's it.
I was traveling back from the game. If all shows to miss last Tuesday night was not the one.
And the one before it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
However, to be fair, the one show you probably do not want to miss would have been this one, given the fact about what happened on Sunday.
Right? So
Absolutely.
Let's get into some things that happened aside from the Denver Broncos, because obviously we're going to talk all about that. Number one, the Chiefs lost, the Chargers lost, the Raiders lost. Denver's the only one that won in the West. And the Chiefs lost embarrassingly. You have the elite quarterback in Patrick Mahomes that likes to throw for a 99-yard pick six. And Chris Jones, who just watches Trevor Lawrence run for the game-winning touchdown.
Well, fall down first, and then
Twice, actually.
And fumble, and then get up and run.
Yeah,
embarrassing.
Ooh, I like that.
I know, cry Eagles cry is nice. Oh, and did you hear the after the game, Sean Payton decided to have the bus drive right through downtown Philly after the Broncos won.
Rub it in, baby. Just rub it in. Sean Payton, one thing we know about him, he's petty. He's a petty motherfucker.
And we love it. Every minute of it. All right. So next, and this one we talked a little bit about in the green room, and there were some heated exchanges because this franchise is stupid, and we don't understand why. The Cincinnati Bengals decided that Jake Browning wasn't enough. So they went and they made a trade for a quarterback. And you're thinking, oh, well, maybe they went and got Kirk Cousins. Maybe they got Shedeur Sanders. Maybe they got Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. Nope. Joe Flacco. The statue of a quarterback gets to stand behind probably the worst offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah, if not the worst, it's pretty bottom barrel.
Two or three at
it's
minimum.
It's like the second to last drag in a bottle. Like it is a pretty bad offensive line. And, it was also an in-division trade, it was one where one team is helping out another team with its most important position, and it's just something you rarely see, I mean, in-division trades have happened, but something when it or kind of correlates to a quarterback is pretty crazy. And then the other part, right? As we said, there were way better options on the table. And certainly, the Browns had 17 quarterbacks on the roster. But they the Giants had Jameis Winston, who would have been a seamless fit for him. Kirk Cousins was option number one, or should have been option number one. And, clearly that didn't even happen. So once again, the Browns and Bengals, two very well poverty-run organizations, as well documented in this offseason by the Bengals. Yeah, not exactly an ideal scenario if you were Zach Taylor wanting to be on that hot seat.
Yeah, all I can say is Bengals are going to bungle.
Mrs. Flacco had him update his will before he went down to Cincinnati to get behind that line. That.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
It just... The whole thing is just.
But he's entering his prime.
You trade for Flacco and give them a sixth, and they give you a fifth. That's not even worth it. Why? As soon as Burrow's back, he's back starting. Well, unless he never comes back, because for the love of God, would you want to stand behind that offensive line?
And allegedly, the only team that the Bengals called was the Browns about Joe Flacco.
Right, and you would think
only quarterback they were interested in.
And you would think at least if they call the Browns, it's like, oh, we're going to try Shador. Like, I'm not saying that he's like the answer, but for the love of God, he's young, he can run, give him a shot, and he's cheap. Why would you go for Flacco?
Right.
It's because the Bengals are incompetent. They don't have a structure in that organization that leads to good team building. They don't have a GM. Their owners literally do not know football. Duke Tobin is a puppet. And basically, they're just going to see a quarterback up there who's available and has the name. Because let's just be honest, Joe Flacco, somewhat big name. It's probably going to at least bring a couple of fans in there. And yeah, it's dumb. It's just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Bengals trying to be cheap. That's it. They're just trying to be cheap. They want to have a quick fix, a Band-Aid solution, instead of actually go out there and get a real quarterback. Because let's just be honest, they're saying 3 months, but the real recovery timeline for this surgery is 4 to 5 months. Joe Burrow ain't coming back this year. You need somebody who can play quarterback the entire season. Kirk Cousins could have probably saved you. Joe Flacco ain't fucking saving you. He ain't doing it.
Right? And for all those people out there that are like, oh, Joe Burrow will be back for the playoffs. Does it really matter? Do you actually think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs?
They might compete, but no.
I saw at one point during that game against Detroit, the Bengals were down 28-3. I'm like, this looks familiar.
Right.
You know.
Let's remember the Browns gave Watson $245 million, all guaranteed. Right, but they came out smelling good in this one.
They did.
Who did they have before Watson? I can't remember. Whatever happened to that guy?
Something like Baker Mayfield.
Oh.
You know, just a guy that's crushing it on the Bucs.
Crushing it. His teammates will run through a wall for him. You know, just.
Mm-hmm.
Cage, Bill says you're fired up. Cage, I'm going to call you Luke Cage now. Luke Cage.
Johnny Cage.
Nicholas Cage. You know, there are just a couple of teams in here that just really piss me off. We were talking about this in the green room. The Atlanta Falcons are one of them. The Cleveland Browns are one of them. And the Cincinnati Bengals are most definitely one of them. I mean, I despise stupid football teams, and these three are the epitome of stupid.
It's kind of being up there. It's almost to the level where the Giants were when they didn't take the trade for Saquon and then let him walk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's that kind of stupidity.
Yeah.
Gave Daniel Jones the big contract and then
not paid Saquon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then cut him.
And then let him go, and now he's crushing it.
Didn't crush it this week, though.
Yeah, well, it happens. All right, let's get to some Broncos stuff. So the first thing we're going to start out with is a negative, I think. Ben Powers goes to IR with an injury. Do we have any more update on that? And do we know, are they moving a lineman over and bringing someone else in? Are they just having the backup come in? What are we doing with this spot?
So allegedly, there was a report that came out by Chris Thomason where they didn't officially put him on IR. So maybe maybe Ben Powers is wanting a second opinion. But it appears that he, at least at this point, is that he's not going to be on IR, but I think the expectation is that he will be. And then with that, if you will, means that probably between Alex Pavlovsky and Matt Parrott is going to end up sliding in. It sounds like when Ryan Edwards was talking that he's expecting, I think it's Pavlovsky or Parrott to kind of slide in there at left guard. We'll see. We'll kind of see what happens there. It's the one probably big negative of all of this because the Broncos offensive line really has been pretty solid. So far this year, despite the weakest link on that offensive line. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting to follow. And the timing isn't exactly ideal because we'll talk about how this is a possible trap game against the Jets, but it's not an ideal situation when it comes to a 7:30 game. You're losing your left guard, and it's still the Jets' defensive line.
It's true. You've got Quinnen Williams. You've got some other good pieces on that D-line. So that is going to be a challenge. And Ben Powers, through the first couple of weeks, it was pretty inconsistent. Same thing in training camp in the preseason. But the last few weeks, he's really leveled out. He's been really good. He's been a road grader. The Broncos have been running more rushing concepts that I think are akin to what he does well. And him not being out there is going to hurt because J.K. Dobbins has been really running behind him a lot. And the Broncos are going to have to find a way to replace that. I've heard through Benjamin Albright that Matt Peart is definitely in contention. I think they like Palczewski as that jumbo tackle, and I don't know if they want to replace him in that role. So I'm thinking it's going to be Peart, and then they'll promote Throckmorton to the active roster if they do indeed put Powers on IR, which at this point I think we need to be planning for that to happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's just good news. That's just the cherry on top. You know, we need to be a little bit more proactive here in how we prepare for this, because not having him out there definitely will leave a hole on this offensive line. And hopefully somebody steps up. And I'm confident in the depth on this unit. I'm confident in the coaching with Zach Strief. I believe somebody will step up, but it's still a question mark that's going to need to be asked against the New York Jets.
Well, and one negative thing, if they do start Palczewski, is now they're not going to get the number 63 reports eligible. Cheers.
No.
Woo!
Right. They're going to tell Palcho, we'd like you to start. And he goes, no. I get way more love. I come off the bench.
And also, who doesn't love the fact that, you know, we're going to get a second crack of Mundungus Throckmorton?
I mean, it's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I will say Throckmorton played some really good football in the preseason. There's a rep in particular that comes to mind where he cleared a hole for RJ Harvey for a touchdown, a beautifully executed combo blocked the first level guy, got up and blocked the linebacker. I think Throckmorton could play well if given the opportunity. So don't count him out either. He might be a dark horse to replace Powers in the starting lineup.
Now, if it was me, and I'm not a football guru or X's and O guru, I would like, just because that center position has been a bit of a rough spot with the season, is that I would move Watton Baconburger to left guard, and then and put Forsyth at center. And the only reason why I am pounding the table a little bit for it is just because you're at least keeping Watton in the starting lineup. He at least understands the protections. He understands the blocking protections. Quinn Miners, it also looked like, was taking on some of that responsibility when looking back through the film, like when, you know, he's pointing around and looking through some things. So at least that's enough of a soundboard for a guy like Alex Forsyth if they wanted to do so. However, the biggest cold water of all of this was Luke Wattenberg played quite well in that fourth quarter against the Eagles, which we'll talk about. But I think for us, though, we're probably expecting Matt Peart and Alex Palczewski or someone like that. Maybe even Throckmorton, because like that's the thing is too, is like if Throckmorton plays well enough, at least in practice, they might actually audition it and actually put him at guard because he's so versatile.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, since you bring up the fourth quarter, I actually want to talk about the first three quarters first. So we'll get to the bad stuff, and then we'll get to the good stuff. Obviously, we all watched the game, Broncos versus Philly. Broncos pulled out in the fourth quarter, 21-17. We get the big win. The big problem is the first three quarters. Those first three quarters, we scored 3 points. There were some, I don't know if they were bad throws or if they were bad drops or if it was wrong routes or I don't know what it was. But what do you think is the issue in the first three quarters compared to the fourth quarter?
I think it's a little bit of everything you mentioned, to be honest. We had an early drop on the first drive where Bo Nix puts it right on the money and it goes through Cortland Sutton's hands. We have a couple of well-designed plays that got guys open for big plays that Bo Nix didn't hit. One that comes into mind, it was a beautifully designed play. They put Trent Sherfield at tight end, basically, and they had him run a leak-out route, and it got him one-on-one against Zach Bond. That's a matchup you want. Bo Nix it felt like he threw it just a touch too late, and it ended up going over Sherfield's head. That was an opportunity for a big explosive play. So that was one that you left on the table. There were some penalties early on that kind of backed you up and stalled some drives out. So I just think that you need to clean some of those inconsistencies up, but they did do that in the fourth quarter. We saw them overcome penalties. We saw them overcome a couple of negative plays in that fourth quarter, and they were pretty lights out, man. They really were. So if you can just do what you did in the fourth quarter, basically, you're going to be okay.
Right. And when you hear that, everyone's complaining that the Broncos got all the calls. If you look at the number of penalties, Broncos had significantly more or several more than the Eagles did, and most of those coming in those first three quarters. I mean, this has been the story of the first 4 weeks, really, is the inconsistency and just the, just not being very disciplined, and I think that is probably the biggest issue that the Broncos have. Forget the drops, I mean, that comes with it, but it's these other mistakes, these pre-snap penalties, just the inconsistencies and the undisciplined play. Hopefully we've shaken that now with the solid fourth quarter that really is one of the biggest wins in the last 10, 15 years, quite honestly.
Yeah,
I think we had, 12 penalties for 121 yards, 11 penalties, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But the refs gave it to us, right?
Right.
That's what the Philadelphia Eagles fans would say.
All over the place on that.
But I just think that, the thing is like, you're going to have at least some luck on your side. And with that, right, is going to end up coming just unfortunate calls like that, right? Where the Eagles are going to be in a position where they're going to get those calls, questionable or not. They were the better team. So they're going to get those calls in their favor. You could call it priority. I would say it's priority in a sense because it's the Eagles. But I don't know, questionable calls for sure. And I think the thing is because the Broncos recreated that momentum in the fourth quarter, they recreated it so much it was in their favor, in the middle part of the fourth quarter. So I don't want to say it evened out, but it was to a point where it's the most critical point in the game. And that's, of course, where, the Eagles fans are, complaining and taking to social media saying, how much the Broncos were in favor of the calls, which is hysterical, by the way. But, no, it was just, I just think all in all, for the game, it was definitely a good microcosm of, where things have been for the Broncos as far as to begin the season. I think at the end, for me, it just all falls on the execution. And the execution is all fixable, right? It is all fixable. Just teaching, the discipline aspect of, just being a little bit more tightened up a little bit on the penalties and everything. And, the overthrows, that is just all execution, that is just execution and just not overthrowing at times. And so that's going to happen. And it's clear that, when it's been a full game, which we have seen full games before, they are a tough team to beat, meaning the Broncos. They're a tough team to beat. And, it was crazy to possibly see what the ceiling might actually be for this Denver Broncos team when they play in and out of structure, particularly in that late third quarter and into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So one of the other things that is all over social media everywhere, as I have people yelling in the background, shut up! Jeez.
That's going to be clipped.
Jiminy.
You even shimmied while you were doing it. It was.
I know, right? This is what, third week in a row I'm having to scream at somebody or get made fun of or something.
We need to clip the scene from Wedding Crashers with Will Ferrell. Ma! Meatloaf!
We probably do. So one of the other things that people are going off on social media about is Riley Moss. And I think it's well overblown. Come on, he's not that bad. But there were times in the game where he was getting scorched a little bit. I mean, do we need to see more of Jahdae Barron? Do we need to see more of Chris Abrams-Drain? Do we just need to kind of ride it out? Like, what do we need to do?
At the end of the day, like, yeah, the yards allowed is the biggest thing it's hard to ignore. But like, you're still talking about an aggressive defense, a Vance Joseph defense that is very, very aggressive, and also like he's opposite of Pat Surtain. Like, the expectation is he's going to be thrown at, and then half the throws. I don't know how often I need to say this. Like half the throws are perfect throws.
Yeah.
Like I mean, do I need to yell to people's ears? Like even the 3rd and 4 that ended up being called back because the Eagles were dumb and had an illegal shift. Like, that was a perfect throw. So it was a perfect throw to Devontae Smith. And there was literally every single throw that people want to criticize Moss for is quite literally a back shoulder throw. Do you know the back shoulder throw is quite literally one of the hardest throws to defend as a corner? Like, even for Pat Surtain, it is a hard throw to even defend. So it just happens. He's one of the best cornerback 2s in the game. It just so happens he's picked on because Pat Surtain's on the opposite side of the field. So I don't know. Why don't you guys just take a little thing of Cool It and chill? Like, Riley Moss is fine.
Yep. I agree with everything you said. And additionally, the play that he got torched deep by Devontae Smith, I don't know if that was the best position that Vance Joseph put him in. Press coverage on a long yardage situation with no help over the top. Riley Moss is not the fastest corner in the world, especially in comparison to Devontae Smith, who is lightning quick.
So, winner too. Like,
yeah. That's just a bad matchup, man. You can't blame Riley for that. He shouldn't have been put in that situation. You got to give the man help over the top. Otherwise, he is going to get cooked like that. So, Riley Moss is a more than competent cornerback 2. And I mean more than competent. He is one of the better cornerback 2s in the league. He just has the somewhat misfortune of playing alongside the best corner in the game who nobody is going to target.
And, it's one of those things, too, where he's not going against these chump receivers. These receivers are still top-tier guys. Yeah. Smith, Brown, T. Higgins is a $30 million a year receiver. Like, these guys are not average, crappy players that he's going against. And I love Cam's point about these perfect throws because it is uncanny how he does get burned by that. I mean, I'm just still picturing the Herbert throw that somehow it was the most perfect coverage and somehow it got in there. It just is let's give it a rest, and to be honest, I mean, Pat didn't have a very good start to the game either. He had a couple penalties and gave up a couple catches, but everything settles in. This is a top tier defense. This is going to be a top 3 defense by the time the season is over. I mean, the sacks just keep rolling. The stops keep happening. I mean, this enjoy it, guys. Like, let's stop complaining. I'm not talking about you guys, but I'm talking about some of these nervous Nellies. Like, just enjoy what we are set up to have right now and set up to be in the future.
Yeah. And I know that one of the other things, and this is going to be the last potential negative thing before we get into the fourth quarter, would be Alex Singleton, an inside linebacker. Yeah. We have the trade deadline coming up. Gage, I know you made a video on Broncos Syndicate about it. We talked last night in the group chat because the Raiders just let Jermaine Pratt go. Like, do the Broncos need to make a trade? Are they going to be active at the trade deadline? Are we just waiting for Drew Sanders to come back and Dre Greenlaw? What are our options here? Because Alex Singleton, I think we've about hit the ceiling of what we're going to see from him.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the Alex Singleton point. And I understand that it's not the easiest thing for Singleton to defend. It was a double move by Saquon Barkley, but still, man, Alex Singleton is slow as a snail. He can't run anymore. He already struggled to cover, and it's just even worse after the torn ACL. I respect Singleton. I understand the green dot thing, and I came up with a potential solution to that issue. I want them to go get DeMario Davis. DeMario Davis from the New Orleans Saints, still playing at a really high level at age 36. You could probably get him for pretty cheap because the
I love that point.
The suspense is killing me.
But like that. But what a time to cut out. I agree with him. I agree with him about the moment.
He's gonna do the same thing as last week: drop off and come back in.
It's right though, because like he's got familiarity, right? At least with Sean Payton. The only other explanation would be
Okay, so you were talking about DeMario Davis.
Yes, I was talking about DeMario Davis. So I was saying that we could probably get him for pretty cheap because the New Orleans Saints would do right by him. They would they'd do right by him. They'd send him to a place where he's got several coaches with whom he's familiar, and they would give him the opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl. He's in a 3-4 defense right now, so the transition would be easy. I don't know if he'd be your green dot player, but Greenlaw could be your green dot when he comes back. So I think as a one-year rental for the rest of this season, when you get Dre Greenlaw back, have him and DeMario Davis as your two starting linebackers. I'm good with that.
I think Greenlaw's out 2 more weeks, right? Because he was
No,
bored.
Well, actually, I heard, at least this is Zach Stevens. I heard something that he's eligible to come back for the Giants game.
Giants, yes, he is eligible to come back for Giants.
So we'll see. And there's been some weird thing going on with Greenlaw, where like he's traveling, he's contributing to the team, like he was part of the.
My wife just gave me her sausage just in case. Thanks, man.
Gosh, talk about reciprocation.
I give her mine, she gives me hers. That's how it works. I gotta laugh.
But no,
sizes.
That means we're hiding the kielbasa tonight. That's what's happening.
The portions were.
But I think that for like the Broncos, like if they don't, I think the thing is like it's hard to envision them making a move until they prove it, right? Like because this would end up being like the first buyer move that I can recall since like Vernon Davis, when the Broncos went out and traded for Vernon Davis and then he ended up winning the Super Bowl. But it's just like if they did that, Cody Barton is certainly an option. Obviously, DeMario Davis is an option. Like, but I think that there's 2 moves the Broncos could make that they don't need to do a trade for, and that is getting Greenlaw back and getting Malcolm Roach back. I think that like just the simple fact of having them be returned to the defense, I think will help that defense significantly. Obviously, Greenlaw would be in the position of, having a little bit more, as far as like coverage ability and everything. And then obviously I will say until the dogs come home that the moment when Greenlaw does come back is when it should be the Greenlaw dot. Like it should be like, absolutely, he should be getting the green dot. And then the moment he gets the green dot is the moment Alex Singleton should be off your football team. It's risk. Look, he needs to be off the football team. He's a liability. And at that point, maybe you're right with Justin Cernod.
And sorry, that was one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to have this conversation, because we continue to talk about, when Dre Greenlaw comes back. Well, when Dre Greenlaw comes back, Singleton is still there, right? Like, I don't think at this point Singleton or Cernod are covering for each other. They're both just have their own issues. So even if Greenlaw comes back, you still have Singleton out there. Is there another solution for that? Or do we just have to ride this thing out until the wheels fall off?
Sorry, go ahead, Cam.
No, I think there's at least another wild card option like about this, and it's Talanoa Hufanga. I think it sounds crazy, but like I'm not saying
him down or having him help cover.
I'm saying, but using him as a box player that you can use almost like a linebacker, where you're truly roaming him around like a coverage linebacker. I think that is a very interesting option to roll with. It's something that we've certainly said that they could do with, JL Skinner, at some point. But like, there's ideas that they could roll with if they decided to cut, Singleton. Like, Singleton is just such a liability. Literally everything that they've thrown at him, everything. And look, I may be over exaggerating, but every time it seems an opposing team throws at Singleton, it's 100% completion percentage on Singleton. Whether he's there immediately on a tackle or he's getting, his ankles taken away from him, like he always allows a catch 100% of the time. And those wheel routes are not on Sternad. They are not. Like, those wheel routes are almost 75 to 100% on Alex Singleton every single time. And it is always the weakest link of that entire defense is those wheel routes.
Yep, it's because they know he can't run. They know he can't chase them. And I really like Rich A's point here about JL Skinner as well. And Cam, you said the same thing. Like, JL Skinner, he can definitely fill that hybrid role. I am intrigued by Hufanga as well, but Hufanga has been so damn good as a safety, and they play him a lot in the box anyway. So I'm good keeping him where he is. You do have some options there if you need to do that. PJ Locke can be put back at safety, and then you can move Hufanga down. So you've got plenty of flexibility, but I think the best option for the Broncos would be to go out and make an addition at linebacker. Demario Davis would be the perfect fit. Roll with him in Greenlaw. Then in certain dime situations, bring in a JL Skinner. But I think Jahdae Barron has also been doing a really good job in that role. Like, the reps that he's been getting, he's been making some plays out there. So I don't know if there's a spot elsewhere for Barron right now, but you've got a lot of flexibility with some of these hybrid DB linebackers, and you can do a lot of fun stuff there, especially as we get later on into the season. We might see some of that.
What about a Drew Sanders or a Karene Reed?
The Drew Sanders thing might get interesting because he was short-term IR. Like, he was short-term IR. And then obviously, with Karene Reed, like, he's there. He's clearly making up your 53-man roster, right? And oh, by the way, the mysterious Garrett Wallow is appearing. He's now in the 53-man. He's now in the 50. He's now in the 53-man roster. So at least they got something as far as another linebacker on there. So I just think that, like, clearly for what we did see in preseason, which was solid in that linebacker room, now that they're facing a little bit stiffer competition, it is still looking like a bit of a depth problem.
Richie says, Cam, an unpopular opinion is that Sternad is so poor in run blocking. Singleton often cheats to help him. It's on film. In my opinion, replace Sternad and let's see Reed and or Bailey.
I've seen a little bit of that on tape as well. Like, there have been some times where Sternad's been just so out of position, and Singleton will go over there and at least try to at least fill the gap or try to get somebody there. But it's just, I would agree with that to an extent, but I still think Singleton has got some problems that are strictly on him.
Mm-hmm.
So we go from talking about all of the negative into talking about the positives, and the majority of that is the fourth quarter. But when you look at the entire game, the Broncos have 6 sacks on Jalen Hurts. Eagles only had 2 sacks on Bo Nix. We also talked a lot about the running game in the first couple of games and how we weren't getting enough of it. We had 130 yards rushing in this game, and the Eagles had 45. And that's with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. So, obviously, this season it's more and more reminding me of 2015. And I'm not saying that they're the same. Obviously, 2015 defense being one of the best of all time. But when you look at it, in 2015, the offense wasn't really able to figure it out, and the defense was keeping them in the game. So far, that's what we're doing right now. The defense is keeping the Broncos in the game, and the offense is able to finish in the fourth quarter. Now, there were some penalties that might have been missed. I will be honest that the JL Skinner no pass interference call, that was pass interference. Like, no, stop it. That was pass interference. Now, it wasn't called, so it doesn't count, but it was pass
I
interference.
don't think so.
I don't think so, man. I think it was for both guys fighting for positioning at a very critical time in the game. I mean, that would have been a terrible call against the Broncos.
It looked like they both initiated the contact.
I agree.
Well, and my thing, and I've always said, like, I just want it to be consistent, right? Like, I want the referees and the umpires to be consistent. And throughout the season, they've made it a point that if at any point they're like tugging on the jersey and the jersey's separated from the pads and you see being pulled, they're going to call a pass interference. That's why I'm saying, by those standards, that was a pass interference.
Yeah, but one of the biggest factors in pass interference is if the person turned his head or not. And if you actually look at the play, with J.L. Skinner and Dallas Goedert, Skinner turns his head. And, and that is one of the biggest things on whether they'll call pass interference or not. And he turns his head. And because he turns his head, and at that point, they were fighting with one another, like that's why they didn't call it. And I do not agree that it was supposed to be pass interference.
But that one at the end of the half with Mims, dude, that was ridiculous that they picked that one up. Absolutely.
Grabbing his helmet, his face mask, a big fistful of it. And that Zach Bond late hit, that was
stupid.
That was seconds later, man. Like, come on. It was a perfect call. It was a smart call. These guys just, like if it's an appropriate call, just deal with it. I mean, the babies.
It was almost like Sean Payton's undisciplinedness went back into Zach Bond, and he helped the Broncos win the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That is the epitome of a stupid penalty, man. I get pissed off with stupid penalties, and if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm pissed off that Zach Bond did that. I'm not pissed off that the refs called. I'm pissed off at Bond. Like, that's just dumb. It's a boneheaded play.
Yeah, and now the other one that people are all getting all hot in their pants about is that picked up intentional grounding that Bo Nix threw, where Sutton and Troutman were obviously in the area.
Troutman was 100%.
The ball bounces by Sutton when they showed.
Yeah, it went right by his ankle.
Backside, you see the ball bouncing right next to him.
Yeah, and then frickin' Tony Romo's trying to
stuff it.
Yeah, Tony Romo, a former quarterback of all people, trying to like explain how he actually thought it was intentional grounding, and then doing like or whatever motions he was doing, describing the intentional grounding or whatever. Like, just shut up. Like, it was clearly not intentional grounding. Like, the whole rule is, outside tackle box, there's receivers in the area, and the biggest thing is receivers in the area. There were receivers in the area, so shut up and go call the game a little bit more.
Well, here's the thing that people got really pissy about with that was originally they threw the flag on it and then they picked it up. The referee explained to the pool reporter afterwards that the official-to-official communication system wasn't working on that play. So they initially, the referee threw the flag, and then he went to, I believe, his line judge and asked if they saw a receiver in the area. They said they did, so the referee picked up the flag. It wasn't instant replay like the broadcast said intervening, because instant replay cannot intervene on an intentional grounding call relative to if there's a receiver in the area. They can intervene if the ball gets to the line of scrimmage or not, but that wasn't the question here. It clearly didn't get to the line of scrimmage. The question was there a receiver in the area? The referee said no, but the line judge or whoever the other official was, they said yes, and that's the call that they went with on the field, and that's why they picked up the flag.
Yeah. And we've seen that penalty is the one that if there's going to be a delay in a penalty being called, it's always intentional grounding, because as Gage just said, you're walking around, you're just getting a gauge of from each of the officials what exactly happened. Did you see a guy there? Did this happen? Did this happen? And then they come back with an assessment. Again, I'm sorry, he was being tossed around. It was a pretty careless throw, but it was not intentional grounding.
Yeah. And there were receivers in the area. And then the Mims thing, like that is just, you want to talk about preferential treatment. or favoritism, that is a perfect example. It was blatant PI on Mims. Blatant PI on Mims. That should have been flagged, ended up not being flagged. They threw the flag on it, and then they picked it up. That is one of the worst cases. Funny enough, it happened in the last 12 hours of the entire day. But it's just that it was one of the second worst call I've seen actually be picked up, because you had the one with Mims, and then the one in the Kansas City Chiefs game that was picked up on a pick play that ended up being a touchdown. It was a legitimate pick play that ended up being picked up. You cannot tell me that there's at least some ref favoritism going on.
Well, the one that was even worse was the one in the fourth quarter, or whatever that one was, when Trevor Lawrence threw that interception. Was that the one you were referring to? Were you referring to the...
No, the Chiefs' actual pick play that they...
Yeah, that one, I mean, it was close. I can see why they ended up picking that one up. They probably shouldn't have. But the one that was even worse than that was the one on the Trevor Lawrence interception, where very clearly that Chiefs defender ran right into Parker Washington and prevented him from running his route. And Trevor Lawrence, it looked like he threw it right to Trent McDuffie, but that's because the receiver got jammed up with illegal contact. So the fact that one wasn't called, that was the worst one of the night for me. That was horrible.
Yeah, and all these Philly fans are going off, and even national media out in Philly is just going off on how the referees handed the game to the Broncos. But to be honest, the two big missed penalties that they're going off about, we already had come back and had the lead in the fourth quarter. If you want to complain about something, complain about letting us come back in the fourth quarter from 17-3.
Exactly.
Whine about the defense. Why are you whining about the referees? We already had the lead at that point.
100%.
Whatever. So then in the fourth quarter, we get the Knicks to Sutton connection again shows up. We get some more J.K. Dobbins. We got a little bit of every. Troy Franklin on the 2-point conversion, which, by the way, ballsy call.
No, I've
never seen anything like it.
Yeah, you can imagine everything that was going through his head with all the factors of him going back to his hometown in Philadelphia, and this being the Philadelphia Eagles game, the Bill Parcells wanting to pass Bill Parcells, everything of the factors of that. You can bet that too was in the back of his mind with the Cincinnati Bengals game from last year. Absolutely, you can imagine that was in the back of his mind. So it wasn't in the back of our mind, but the fact that it took balls and Harry Peaches to do that 2-point conversion at that moment with 8 minutes into the game, which the analytics, they said it. The analytics would never even tell you go for 2-point conversion there, but the fact they went for 2-point conversion and got it, and they did it in a play that was so basic and putting so much trust into Troy Franklin with his release and his speed out, and for Bo to actually get that ball out in time, it was a really well done 2-point conversion, because even if he waits just a second longer, Sutton was clearing out and was going to end up being wide open on that 2-point conversion. He could have hit Sutton on too. So it was a well orchestrated fourth quarter just entirely by the Denver Broncos, but specifically that 2-point conversion.
Yeah, great route, great throw, great catch by Troy Franklin.
And what does that tell the team? When Sean Payton, there was no hesitation. I mean, there was not any. They scored that touchdown, and no one was walking off the field to allow for the extra point to be made. But as one of the offensive players, you got it, and just the team in itself, that your coach is willing to call a 2-point conversion to take a lead with 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, after really struggling for those first 3 quarters and being down 17-3 for a good chunk of that time. That is amazing faith that coach has in those players, and it's got to make them want to just work harder for him as well.
Yeah, and not only that, you get Evan Ingram with absolute effort on that touchdown. First touchdown of the season.
Yeah.
Incredible. Breaks 3 tackles and gets in the end zone.
When we say we got everything, we got everything, including the Evan Ingram we were hoping to get at the beginning of the season. It was picture perfect, Age.
Yeah, and then that catch, he went up and mossed a dude, man. That was awesome.
Oh, that was awesome.
I mean, absolutely awesome. That was a clutch catch, and a clutch just went up there and boom, man. It was awesome. So Evan Ingram, he showed up when we needed him. Bo Nix showed up. Everybody showed up in that one. Sean Payton's play calling showed up. It was a prime example of how to win a game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and then Johnny Vigil bringing up Jeremy Crawshaw, baby.
Yeah!
Loving how he's punting this year.
MVP.
Yeah, no, it's been unbelievable, and I mean that offense, man. Like, because we said about like how much the offense found its identity against the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, then you put it forth to a fourth quarter, and you see that kind of fourth quarter unfold. Like, that was picture perfect, like chef's kiss, everything you could have asked for. Like, that is the ceiling of this team. 100%. That is the ceiling of this team. And as we've said, like, they were succeeding inside of structure, outside of structure. The team is a bit hyperbole and egregious to actually say this, but like the team was going as far as how well Bo Nix was playing. Like, Bo Nix was playing at such a high level with his leadership, his acumen, and everything else, his mobility. Like, it was supreme, and everybody was feeding off of that. The back shoulder throws to Cortland Sutton, the fade routes, not in the end zone, but the fade routes, on third and everything to Cortland Sutton. There were big moments, big throws, and like, if that is the kind of stuff and identity the Broncos are going to be feeding off about how aggressive they are, that's probably the biggest thing for me, is they have to be that aggressive going forward as far as an offense. If they do that, they're going to be darn near unstoppable as an offense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything else that we have not talked about in that last game that you guys want to cover?
I don't know if that delay of game was intentional.
Which one?
That brought the clock. It was right at the end. Brought the clock down to 2:39. I think it was, because what that did is, with the 40-second clock, that forced the Eagles to start taking their timeouts immediately thereafter, where the Broncos couldn't just get it all the way down to the 2-minute warning. I think that was not a mistake. I think that was to really try to trigger those Eagles into starting to just waste those timeouts and not having that. And the other thing I wanted to point out is, after Lutz made that field goal, that kickoff that was perfectly on the line of the end zone, that again could not be taken out as it made a touchback. Mm-hmm. It had to be run out, and more time was wasted. Brilliantly placed, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. All right, so I don't want to be too overconfident, but we have a game coming up this weekend where, if there was ever a time to make sure you get the offense right in the first three quarters, this is the one. We're playing the Jets, and I know Cam's a little scared, like it's a trap game, but man, they're 0-5, and they have no turnovers defensively at all in this entire season. Mm-hmm. It's not great.
They give up a lot of big plays as well. They're poorly disciplined on that side of the ball. They're poorly disciplined on both sides of the ball, quite frankly. I'm watching some tape of their offense from the past two games. Run game, good. Passing game, when it's not garbage time, not good. Not good whatsoever. Justin Fields, it's very clear, he's not a drop-back quarterback. He's solid as a rusher, but this passing game just can get nothing going until the game's basically out of reach. So the Broncos, if they go in there, play sound, fundamental, disciplined football for all four quarters, this shouldn't be close. This should be just like the Bengals game. The Jets are not good. And Cam pointed out in the green room their defensive line, which I agree. That is one area where the Broncos are going to have to factor that in. But outside of that, I just don't see where this Broncos team matches up poorly. I think Denver's going to be able to do pretty much whatever they want on both sides of the ball. This should be a blowout. We're past the point of the Broncos not beating the team they should beat. This is a team that the Denver Broncos should beat the living snot out of. And there's some outside factors that I know Cam will mention that play a part here, but I don't see a scenario where the Broncos don't beat the snot out of them. I really don't.
But wait, I thought we were supposed to take Justin Fields in the draft over PS2 because who drafts a corner that high?
Hindsight's always 2020. Hindsight's always 2020. But I think if there is another part of this that I think that's going into the Broncos' favor, why it's not a trap game, is that they played Justin Fields before last year. And
the year before that.
So, and the fact that they were fortunate enough to actually see the side of where Justin Fields is, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is in essence kind of what they got, for the Jets, is just a little bit worse. I think is going to afford them the opportunity to where they'll be a little bit more ready for it. And I just think that for
not this
the reasons why I qualify it as a trap game is just because of the outside factors. They are still searching for their first win, and that it's that they're going to be desperate for it. It's also an early game. It is an early game. It is a 7:30 game Mountain Time, and I just think that when you look at it, the Broncos are coming off of a big win, the biggest win in the last 10 years of the post Super Bowl era. So it's possible that a hangover is real. Do I think that a hangover will happen with Sean Payton? Not necessarily, but it's one where the Jets probably will come ready to play. And if you actually look at everything that's unfolded, even last week last Sunday, between the Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings, it went down to the wire. So things happen at times, and I'll just say it for right now. I have the Broncos winning this game. I think it's a lot closer than people think, but I think they finished 27-17. But it's going to be one where it's like 24-17, and the Broncos pull in, they get that field goal, and they separate it to make it seem like it's a lot bigger and better than it was.
Now, if you had said the Giants were a trap game, that one right? The Giants maybe could be good. Sometimes they're good. And I mean, you look at the Broncos, their next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. You got the Jets, Giants, Cowboys, Texans, Raiders, right? We've got an easy, at least I think, easy schedule. Mm-hmm. The Texans might be a little bit of an issue. The Cowboys could be an issue. No defense there, but they got an offense. I just don't see how we don't beat the Jets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're such a bad team right now. They're not disciplined at all. They've got nothing going for them on defense. They really don't have a whole lot going for them on offense. Their defensive line is, probably the best part of the team, but that's not saying a lot, right? It's a bad team.
Yeah. I mean, do you have something to say, Gage?
No, I'm just agreeing. I completely agree.
I mean, the fact that this team already has 21 sacks, we had 63 last year. We're already at a third of that total, only 5 games in. We're now on pace to be over 71 sacks. That is sick.
It's an absurd number. And I think the other part of this too is, and it's one of the reasons why this came at such a right time, the Bengals game, and specifically this Eagles game about finding their identity, is now the string of games that they can be able to put together, because this was the game. This was the game that everybody and their mother, except for a few people, were, circling as, a lock. And they won. It was the biggest win post Peyton Manning. They've possibly found their ceiling identity of what it can be in the fourth quarter. If they put that together for a stretch of games of what we're going to end up seeing, I think you're going to start to see Bo Nix really level out. And as we've seen, he goes as much as his head coach goes. And we are entering the month of October and beyond where Sean Payton is an absolute demon. He has a 75% winning percentage as a coach. And I really do think that we are going to start to see signs and levels of where Bo Nix can go and this entire offense. The touchdowns will be up if we can get 3 or 4, touchdowns a game in this stretch. With the interceptions a bit down, I think you'll start to see a lot of people start to calm down about Bo Nix specifically, and those stupid idiots that are on social media, coming after Bo and, been on Bo's, hate train since last year for some stupid and pathetic reason.
I'm going to go. This is going to be like a Raiders game. I'm going to go 42-6 Broncos.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah. Blowout.
I think 37-13 Broncos.
There we go. All right. Anything else we need to cover?
We got
Broncos or outside Broncos? Doesn't matter.
No, I think
Cam's all fired up tonight, though. Man, he's sick and tired, right?
I am.
He's sick and tired, and
say-
everything pisses off Gage.
He's got.
especially when it pertains to the Atlanta Falcons.
There we
Gage
go.
doesn't like stupidity in any form. If
No,
you're
I do not.
stupid,
No.
you have a hater.
It's like the T-shirt Brian Griffin at you. I'm allergic to stupid people.
Yeah, butt fumble getting stabbed in a fight.
That whole
Yes,
He
that is
initiated,
true.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, obviously that was a very wild situation. Mark Sanchez, former Broncos quarterback, most notably former Jets quarterback, got involved in an incident in downtown Indianapolis where allegedly he attacked a grease truck delivery driver. And I'm not going to go into the full details. They're pretty ugly, but in the process, Sanchez went after him multiple times, ended up getting stabbed out of what appears to be self-defense. And he, I believe, is still in the hospital, but he has been charged with multiple misdemeanors and a 5th-degree felony in the state of Indiana, which carries the possibility of 1 to 6 years behind bars. So, yeah, bring up Rich A's comment.
Sanchez
Yeah.
found out jugs are bad. Okay.
Bad.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, not to be judgy, but if you're in your mid 40s, close to 50s, and you're a millionaire, why are you out in the middle of the night at a bar? Like,
Oh,
come on.
shit, man.
Go
Just
home
dumb.
and watch Mr. Rogers.
Why are you doing
I
wind
don't
sprints
care.
in the alleyway?
Right?
I
Like,
mean-
who cares if there's a grease truck in an alleyway? Who cares?
Why are you doing high knees on a intercontinental flight? Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Why are you
Wrong
smoking
quarterback.
dust instead of watching film?
Yeah.
Like, you should be watching film for the game you're calling in 2 days, but instead you're smoking dust.
Yeah.
Had to have been, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what they say, nothing good happens after midnight. And
No.
and like and the other part that's just so unfortunate is like the security camera proves the other witnesses account. So it's just like great. So this is really all up against, and it's all up against him right now. He's got such an uphill battle, but like he brought it on himself. He brought it on himself.
Nothing
He did.
bad ever happens after midnight. I wouldn't know. I'm in bed sleeping.
By 8.
Well, I don't know about that. I still have children awake. You can hear them in the background.
Yeah.
You have 14 kids.
No, I have 6, and I'm not having any more. I'm fixed. It's fine. All right. So I think that's going to about do it for us. We appreciate every single one of you joining us in the show tonight. It was a great Broncos win, and we love it when they win. Make sure you head on over to the MHRT Network YouTube page. Give us a like and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up on the videos. We have lots of different shows you can choose from. We got shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the neighborhood on Sunday. But a reminder, there is no neighborhood this Sunday. It's too early. I'm going to be at work. Bill's going to be at work. It's not going to happen.
Come watch the
we're not gonna-
Broncos Syndicate stream.
Yeah, so head on over to Broncos Syndicate. He does a live stream on the game as well as a pregame, postgame, right?
Both.
Yeah, pregame, postgame, and live stream during the game. And also make sure you go and like and subscribe and thumbs up on the Broncos Syndicate channel.
Yeah.
Speaking of shows that the network has, Cameron Parker, again, is the host of Mainly Broncos on Wednesday night. Check that out. Great times all around had by all. But a caveat to the Broncos Syndicate live stream when we are on Pick Us, Not Them. Just kidding. Just kidding. Love every single one of you. Love the Broncos. Love Broncos country. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out.